Hello, everyone. St. Andrew Swanee School students, parents, family members, faculty, and staff, thank you for coming out today. Or should I say, staying in. But more importantly, thank you for doing everything you have to make this community the loving and powerful thing it is today. For helping to guide those around you through their journey here, showing them what kindness is, and equipping them for the next stage of their lives. Thank you. I have to admit that this is an intimidating prospect, being up in front of hundreds of people and being asked to talk for 10 minutes. Though I'm glad I'm not going into this blind. I've watched quite a few people do this over the years, stand up in front of an outgoing class and prepare to offer some wise parting words. And they say something sweet. They talk about how lucky they are to know each of those students. They talk about the beauty of the bonds between the people in the room. They talk about how they hope the values that define that community would leave a lasting impression on everyone's lives as they ventured out onto their own paths. And they talk about, one way or another, how each of those alumni-to-be sitting in front of them had been given a certain set of perceptions and axioms about the world around them, each unique but beautiful in its own right. That they had learned a great deal of what to think because they had been taught, through the intricate and flexible design of a liberal arts education, how to think. Now, someone could stand in front of you today and give a speech like that, and I believe that everything that came out of their mouth would be 100% correct. SAS more than warrants those kinds of words. With its sometimes a bit overwhelming, but overall balanced coursework, but also the quasi-families formed by the students that populate its classrooms, this place has given many people a better academic experience than they probably ever expected. But while that description of the education received at SAS is true, I think that it still misses something that this school can give, and has given to me. Something which takes a bit more than 16 quarters of high school classes and your average dose of interpersonal connectedness to learn, but which can be taught here nonetheless. I believe that the most significant, most important thing that St. Andrew Swanee School students can learn is not what to think or how to think, but why to think. Some of you might be wondering why I'm discussing a question with such an obvious answer. Of course, we need to think. Allow me to explain with a quick story. Like many other people, I've grown and changed rather significantly over my time here. But from 6th grade through junior year, each new iteration of myself struggled with the same question. What am I doing here? Now, I don't mean that in an existential, philosophical way, though they didn't have an answer for that question either. No, what I mean is that for 6 out of my 7 years on the SAS campus, I had absolutely no idea what the point of going to school was. I knew that SAS would allow me to get a job, like a doctor, lawyer, engineer, a chemist maybe. This place was giving me what I needed to do whatever I wanted. But for all the paths available to me, I couldn't see anything at their ends which would make me particularly excited to walk down them. I knew that problems existed out in the world. I knew that bad things happened, and they bothered me. But I have to admit that for a long time I didn't think about them much past recognizing that they did, and subsequently wishing they didn't. I had the potential to make some impact on them when I grew up, and intended to do so, but that was as far as I was able to see as far as career planning goes. I think that aimless is an accurate descriptor of that situation. Towards the end of my junior year, though, I finally came to appreciate something that I never fully understood before. Oftentimes, I would be walking through the hallway with my friends, or hanging out in the library with some classmates, and someone would come across a piece of information that unsettled them. Maybe some senator had made a statement they disagreed with, or a government was taking way too long to enact some policy. Maybe it turned out Wing Day was actually next week. Whatever had happened, the people around me reacted to it in a way that I could not only see, but feel. They showed or spoke annoyance, but deeper than that was a sense of profound irritation and in some cases, even anger. This had happened before, but now that people were nearing their senior year and catching glimpses of life beyond Swanee, such occurrences became more commonplace. And as all class trends do, its rising frequency forced me to look at it more closely, try and understand why it was happening. In many ways, this was my introduction to the concept of being upset at reality. And upon mulling it over for the first time, I realized and fully appreciated the rarity of peace and places like this school. I looked at the problems I had seen before and recognized their persistence beyond the news articles. And as I researched into them, I felt my heart sink over and over again, as I saw just how unfair and avoidable and pervasive so much suffering is, and how much less it would be with just a little bit more general kindness. I became deeply, viscerally unsatisfied with the way the world is, but more importantly, I formed an idea of what I would rather have the world be. That idea is the crux of what I wanted to convey to you today. Not its content necessarily, but its principle. Because having that kind of idea is called having a purpose. I believe it is the most valuable thing that this academically, culturally, and spiritually rich community has given to me. I also believe that this community has shown a purpose to you as well, or at least put one within your grasp, and I urge you to embrace it. Purpose is valuable, because it is why to think. It is the reason to use the skills you've sharpened here. Once you have a purpose, you become critically aware that every step you take is a step towards the future, a step further into the convoluted, dimly lit, high-walled labyrinth of the world beyond high school. And you realize that somewhere distant within that maze is the goal. Not the exit, per se, but a place so pleasant, so mentally or morally comfortable, that you would be satisfied to disobey your hunger for adventure and change and stay there. A place beyond so many twists and turns and dead ends that you think there may not be enough time in 100 lives to reach it. But you will walk forward nonetheless. And, knowing how to think, you will be able to analyze and calculate and work through every fork in the road that life throws at you. You'll finish whatever degree of education you want with no second thoughts. You'll wake up in the morning and get out of bed with the strength to handle whatever happens that day. You'll get a job doing what you love, and you'll love what you do because it brings you visibly closer to your destination. I have dreams, wishes about how I want the world to be, ideals about policies or attitudes in society I want to change. I have things I want above everything else, and I believe that everyone watching this video does too. My dreams may not come true. In spite of the gifts I have received here, I may not reach my goal within the labyrinth. And unfortunately, I can't give you a guarantee that you will reach your goals either. There's a good chance that our lives won't see our ambitions through to completion. I will not argue that this isn't a slightly depressing prospect. But in the face of that uncertainty, I offer this. Another beauty of purpose is that it's an idea. It is not something which, like us, is on a finite timer. Our dreams will not disappear with us, nor will the progress we make towards them. It's a common notion that when someone dies, they continue to live in those around them. I believe that the immaterial characteristics of purpose and ideals are a big part of what is meant by that. The paths you begin to chart can be followed by those who come into the maze after you. Your dreams will project their beacons for as long as someone can see them. Perhaps someone will reach your destination in your stead. Thank you for listening to me today. I'd like to cap things off with a few closing remarks. First, to those of you who make up the St. Andrew Swanee School class of 2020, my classmates and friends who have guided me through my journey here, who have shown me kindness and largely made me the person I am today, thank you. You have allowed me to find my purpose, to make headway on my path, and I have confidence that you can achieve yours. Secondly, to those of you who might be feeling a bit confused or discouraged by my talking about life paths when you don't know what yours is yet, it will come. In fact, it's likely already there inside your head. In my experience, working from the endpoint backwards helps to find it. And finally, to those of you who are suppressing a chuckle because this seems like such an obvious thing to you, well, I'm glad for that. Because to me, that means you're already well on your way to making the world just that much better. Thank you.